Last week we talked about the big row in Grand Bahama, but today we're going to talk about the big scandal in Grand Bahama. And so, we're going to talk about what happened to the 7.5% share stock that is owned by us, the people of the Bahamas. What happened to the money? Where did the money disappear to? Who got the money? And this is really one of the biggest scandal, one of the biggest heist since Black Bear, I guess. And so, all this transaction happened in the 1980s. And I want to read you an excerpt about how the transaction, how it all happened. By July 14, 1981, Edward St. George and Jack Haywood were the only shareholders. Anne St. George was the chairman of the ICD. On August 6, 1982, an internal ICD board decision was made to issue 1.6 million shares of common stock Part 2 to Fiduciary Management Service, which was St. George Private Bank, and 1.2 million shares of Class B common stock Part 2 to Jack Haywood. Both parties would then have an equal number of shares of 1.7 million shares. On January 20th, 1983, an official letter of resolution was issued to ratify this division. When it was finished, ICD owned 92.5% of Grand Bahama stock and 100% of the Port Authority, and the remaining 7.5% stock, of course, is still owned by the Bahamian people. To this day, nobody could tell us what happened to the 7.5% stock. But guess what I found? I have been reliably informed that allegedly, members of the Bahamas government, political parties, have been personally cashing out on the stock. Now, these allegations are very, very serious. And these are alleged allegations that we have to investigate. You all hear that? They were personally benefiting from the 7.5% shares that is owned by the people of the Bahamas, but they were benefiting from it. They were benefiting from it. This is what is so sickening. Yes, for the past many years, hundreds of millions of dollars, they were going to the Port Authority and cashing in on this stock. Now, if this information is true, here's the problem. The Grand Bahama Port Authority is liable for issuing monies from the stock to personal individuals rather than the public treasury. And the politicians who were receiving this money is also liable of a crime. And so therefore, I am calling for an independent investigation, an audit of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and find out exactly which politicians been personally benefiting from this 7.5% stock that is owned by the people of the Bahamas, and who issued them the money, and to the tune of how much money was spent over the last 41 years that we own this stock. And so I am calling on the Commissioner of the Police and the Financial Crime Unit to do an investigation into what happened to the 7.5% stock owned by the Bahamian people. The time has come for us to put an end to this. We cannot depend on the Attorney General to act because he's a political hack. We need the Commissioner of Police, the Financial Crime Unit, and we need them to investigate the Grand Bahama Port Authority. We're calling on the Auditor General to do an investigation to make sure that we can get to the bottom of the 7.5% scandal of these politicians who've been raiding and robbing and raping the Bahamas.